Now, there's a piece that's very different as well, or maybe not different, but another key element of maneuver warfare and decentralized command versus attrition warfare and centralized command. So if you're listening and you haven't been in the military before, the military is separated into two groups of people, officers and enlisted people. The officers are sort of the senior leaders who are, strategic planners, and they're the broader, higher ranking leaders. And then the enlisted are the tacticians, the folks that are shooting the machine guns, throwing their grenades, making things happen. And they do have, the enlisted servicemen also have their non-commissioned officers, which are the senior ranking enlisted guys, which are usually the expert tacticians. But it's interesting. So this is going back to the book now. In the average platoon, the NCOs provide most of the collective experience. So again, you see this sometimes in the movies where they get the young officer and they're green and they don't really know what's going on. And then you get the salty old, badass that's played by a salty old, Clint Eastwood. And he's that older guy with all the experience. That's what that's saying. The NCOs provide most of the collective experience. For this reason, they should participate in most of the tactical decisions. That absolutely makes sense. This should in no way challenge the authority of the officers. Okay, that's sensible. After all, commissioned and non-commissioned officers share the same responsibilities in combat. If the lieutenant, which is the officer, is wounded, the platoon sergeant takes over. When they both, this is key, when they both work together, better decisions result. Obviously, you've got two minds instead of one. This brain trust can be further enhanced by including squad leaders. So they're saying, let's bring in more minds, more of these junior enlisted guys. Let's find out what they think. The enduring satisfaction that comes from making a situationally correct decision and then having that decision fully supported during execution far outweighs the temporary insecurity that may come from soliciting the advice of subordinates. I love that quote. I love that, because I'm going to say it again. So it's saying that the decision and the execution, doing that well, far outweighs the temporary insecurity that may come from soliciting the advice of subordinates. So, and I used to see this with these young junior officers. If they're insecure with their leadership, they don't want to take advice, and they definitely don't want to ask for advice because they feel like that makes them look weak.
Right. Or they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, they don't know what they're talking about. Oh, they're going to lose respect.
Right.
That's all their ego talking, and it's their insecurity talking. Whereas you get a young officer that's smart and that's confident, he has no problem looking at the gunnery sergeant or looking at the platoon chief and saying, hey, chief, how do you think we should do this? Hey, chief, I've never even seen this type of operation before. Can you give me some help? Or can you take lead on this? Mm-hmm. And that is the way a real leader operates. Mm-hmm. You don't always see that, unfortunately.
Same thing with the mistakes too, right? When you say, oh man, I made that mistake.
Oh, exactly.
It's hard to do that a lot of the time because you think, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
He obviously made a mistake. He even admitted it, kind of thing.
Yeah. And what the reality is, people don't actually think that. They don't think, oh, he just admitted his mistake. He really doesn't know what he's doing. No, they go, oh, okay. Well, at least he's aware of his mistake.
Right. Unless everything they do is a mistake, then that's different. But
on the other hand, it is courting disaster to rely on one's personal impressions to provide the solution to complex scenario and then not consider whether one's subordinates have the skills to execute that solution. So don't sit there stuck in your own brain, afraid to ask anybody else, or you're going to lose.